My name is Bill Parrish from GTT Audio, and I'm here to show you how to set up the Kronos limited edition turntable. It comes in this beautiful flight case. There's 4 clips, 2 on each side, which I've already unlocked. Lift the cover off. As you can see how it is packed, there's nothing getting damaged in transit. It's encased with 1.5 inches of foam all the way around it. So you remove that, and the entire turntable is in the box. Grab an Allen wrench and unscrew 2 screws from the top plate, which frees up the top plate. And so you have to, this is the very top of the turntable. So I will set this to the side, and then you have this foam. You have to be very careful. We have automatic sensors here that measures each rotation of the turntable. When you remove the foam, you want to make sure that the foam does not hit the sensors. So you just remove that. Then you remove the platter, the top platter. The top platter has carbon fiber on it. Then this is the middle plinth. And this is the lower rotating platter and the foam. See, that doesn't have the carbon fiber mat. And then you simply lift the very bottom plate out and set it on your base. So we've just removed the bottom foam insert, and all the parts are down here in the bottom. I'm opening up the packages. We have an arm board here. We've got the bearings, the suspension, and the first thing we're going to do is we have these nylon spacers, and we're going to put them over the turntable leg. And this way, as we build the suspension, the plinths are off.
Okay, what are we doing now, Bill?
So what we're going to do is we're just going to clean the parts as we put them together, because oils during the machining and manufacturing process have moved around, and we just want everything to, this is a nickel finish, and we just want to shine it up and make sure everything looks consistent.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we do there.
Okay.
Now I'm going to put a level on it. And in the box with every table is provided a complete set of Allen wrenches. Not that you'll need the complete set to assemble. What we're going to do now, we've put a level on the table, and we've adjusted the feet and leveled the bottom plinth, the bottom suspension. So this table is going to be fitted with a Black Beauty tonearm, and so we have a special RCA DIN termination block that's going to be mounted right onto the turntable. It's easiest to do this at this point. So you remove 2 screws in the back of the table, which I'm going to do now. Put the block there, and then use the longer screws that are provided in the box with the arm. Don't over tighten, just get it snug. So at this point, I grab the middle plinth, and again, I want to be very careful with these sensors that are mounted in the motor block, the speed control sensors. So I take this, I just place it over and set it on the nylon washers. And now I'm ready to install the bottom bearing. The bearings, there's two of them. Aluminum for the bottom one, for the bottom platter. That's the counter rotating platter. And then the top platter is made out of aluminum bronze. So you go into your baggie where there's screws. You take these that are about 1.25 inches long. Stick them in there and tighten them down snugly. And each bearing down at the bottom, about 1/4 inch high, is a little line. You may not be able to pick it up on the video, but it's in there. That's the fill line for the oil. So now this is ready for some oil. So I take the Kronos supplied oil, pour it over the bearing shaft, just until I get to that line. I'll have just enough oil in there. Replace the cap so there's not accidents. And in the accessory bag with the belts and dry bearing for the top, there's also ball bearings in there for the platter. Grab one of the shiny ones, which are the steel bearing. Place it right on the top ledge. I want to always give it a little clean before the final assembly because it's easier to get to when everything is being assembled. Just to take away fingerprints. At this point I take the bottom platter, the one without the carbon fiber, and carefully place it in there. And that's going to go counter rotating. So let the oil pump up in, and I will clean that as well. At this point, it's very important to remember to put the belts on. Otherwise, you're going to have a very hard time doing it after the table's assembled. So there's 2 belts, 1 per platter. What I do is I feed them through the block. Okay, once I get it through the block, I can see the grooves on the spindle, and I just take them, put them around, and then make sure it doesn't fall off like it did, and give them a little spin, and it fits. It's just perfect. At this point, we're ready for the top plinth, which gets set on. Now you install the top plinth bearing or platter bearing. As you can see, everything is simple, straightforward, makes sense. We'll add the oil. Before I put the bearing in there, I'm going to do a little more work on the top. I'm going to clean it. After cleaning it, I'm going to install the suspension. Which are these 4 pieces. And Peter, there are, on this tower, on each tower, there's 2 locking screws. Only 2. So what we want to do is put them in a place that we can get to them and lock down the table after we level it.
So you would ideally want one this way and one this way coming out.
Exactly.
Yeah, got it.
And so we
Got it, yeah.
sort of pay attention with
To
how
make
we're
sure
doing that.
One is going forward and one is going to the side where you have access.
And if it doesn't go down, like this isn't going down, that simply means these are too tight.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to loosen them and it will drop right down on there.
Okay.
But yeah, you see, like that fell
that
right in there.
Fell right in, yeah.
So you just want to pay attention where you put
To the alignment of the locking screws. Yeah.
Because as the Kronos table is simple to put together, you want to spend your time listening and not taking it back apart. So then simply
tighten them up.
Tighten them up. 16 screws to tighten. And at this point, we're still sitting on the nylon,
and then they're removable.
We will remove them later.
I see that.
If you ever need to move the turntable, you have to reinstall the spacers because it's freely hung, and you don't want it swinging and hitting one of the sensors.
So you advise against moving the table at all, unless you put the spacers in?
Unless the spacers are in, yes. You don't want to.
So if you're at an audio show and you want to move the table from one platform to another, you would put the spacers in and have a helping hand.
Exactly.
Move it over
we would install the spacers. Kronos supplies extra nylon ties to hold the spacers in place. Also, if you ever run out of those, at times I use some of that blue painter's tape. Just put it around the spacer, just so the spacer is held in place.
So it doesn't open up and then the table would slip in between the cracks of the spacer.
Exactly.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
This new termination block is a new feature that Louis came up with. Much better than the previous clamp-on box that we used for the Sparta. If you recall,
I do recall that. Yeah.
Locate where that is, and you had a prototype Sparta.
Yeah.
The termination block on the Sparta is exactly the same outside plate, but it's actually integrated into the lower crossbar of the sub-plinth. At this point, we want to take some of the Kronos supplied grease and apply it on the spindle right here. After we do that, in our accessory bag, or parts bag, we take a dry bearing and put that on. Then there's two bearings left. One's a metal one, which we use down below, and you get an extra one. And the other one is a ceramic bearing, which we will use on the top platter. So just drop it right on there. Grab the platter and gently place it on. Give it a spin. Then take the belts.
And you don't have to feed these through because the pool is exposed on top.
Exactly. You could do this now or at any time, but I like to sort of do it in the same order. If you get the belts crossed, it's no big deal at all. Can only be crossed one way. They're not.
Nope.
But if they were crossed,
you just reverse.
You see something like that, you just reverse it. That's it. You're good to go. There. So then there's the power control box that has two different inputs on it, and there's a bag of control wires, and what we're going to do is connect them on this side of the table.
You know, Billy, you've just mounted the mounting plate for the arm, had a C-clamp underneath, very simple, 4 screws, comes through, sandwiches it, so it's loose now, so you can move it back and forth.
That's correct. Once I get the arm on there, then I'll use the protractor, align everything, and then tighten it down. And I've removed the nylon clips, or the nylon spacers. And before I level this top platter, and top plinth, I'm going to, which is done, yeah, right there, those were removed. And before I level this, I'll mount the arm because it'll add some weight back there, which could change that. But when I do level it, I simply stick in, one of the supplied Allen wrenches into the top, and I can loosen all 4 of them until it gets level. Then at that point, once everything is set, then I lock the suspension onto the...
So effectively, you're raising and lowering this top plate. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yep.
And then what you need to do is, after you get it right, torque them down one here, because we were paying attention to when we set the turntable up to make sure the little screws were accessible.
Exactly.
There you go.
And Kronos gives you a little Allen wrench for that.
Yeah. Okay, what are you doing now?
I'm just putting
Is that the ground wire?
the ground wire.
Look at that, right at the bottom there. Yeah.
I put the ground wire on. I've threaded the ground wire through the arm board and through the bottom piece. That goes
Something
right
that
under
you've
those
probably
threads.
forgotten to do at one point in time and set up, and you'll never forget that again.
Exactly. You only do that once.
Yeah.
Well, and you could put the ground wire on afterwards, but to do that, as you see, there's not much room back here, and just like to do things in the proper order, and then it goes together much easier. So we do that. We can crank this up, but we'll measure all this. There's no guesswork at the end.
Okay, and then you just put the arm on and plug the lead wires in the back.